What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Everyday Real Talk with Michelle. And today's topic came up because this has been a big season of growth for me. My whole thing this new year, like the transformation that happens within growth. Because I always thought that growth was something that you would see happening on the outside, like you'll be able to notice it. And sometimes in different people, you may see them start to have more or start to what you think live a better life because we're all on the outside looking in at somebody's story. So we don't actually know what's going on with them. But we do assume sometimes that people have, grown, they're doing better. But some of the most transformative growth happens on the inside of us that we can't see. And just because we can't see it happening, it doesn't mean that it's not happening. That's where the misconception came from with me because I thought you always had to see growth. Um, And I know I'm not the only one that feels that way, but knowing that growth can also take place on the inside, that's what you call emotional growth. And we all have emotional growth that we experience throughout our lifetime. We may not readily see it, but that growth can be different beliefs that we had that we no longer believe in anymore. We feel differently about certain things, which brings me to today's topic, subject, however you want to put it, is like things that I once believed in that I no longer believe anymore, that I know has played a part in my growth. And those beliefs could have been certain things that we were taught by our family, by religion, by society, that could have held us back from certain things or certain experiences that we wanted to have. I know for me, a lot of mine came from what I was taught and what society and religion, I'm going to tell you all of it, just taught me and played a part in my beliefs of what I should have for myself and expectations I should have for myself. And when that realization hit, I found out that they weren't actually my beliefs, but it was something that was actually serving as protection for me at that time from something else that I might have felt. And I'm going to tell you what I'm talking about. You'll understand once I get off into it. As my belief about those things changed, my awareness changed about those things. Because one thing that's going to happen is life is going to challenge you. And once that happens, your beliefs may start to change about different things. I know that's how it happened with me. And one of those things would be just because you have history with a person, that doesn't mean they're meant to stay in your life. I don't care if it's a relative, friend, spouse, whatever position that person holds. You're allowed to outgrow people, and people are allowed to outgrow you. All relationships are mirrors. And when a person is not treating you the way you deserve, you're allowed to put space between you and that person, or however you want to move with that. Which brings me to the next thing. One of my beliefs is boundaries. Like, boundaries aren't disrespectful, they aren't mean, they aren't malicious or anything. Boundaries are just emotional protection for yourself. And if we didn't have boundaries, people would be allowed to do us any kind of way, talk to us any kind of way, just move in the way they want to move and what's comfortable for them. But in reality, both parties need to be comfortable with the situation and how they're being treated in their relationship and how they're moving forward. So don't think you're being selfish when you have to set a boundary with someone. And I say this as well, when you set that boundary for yourself, that person is going to either respect that boundary that you set or they're going to fall away. That's how alignment works. You don't have to conform to keep a relationship moving forward. The weight of their relationship shouldn't fall on you, nor should it come at the expense of the way you feel about yourself. But it's going to be up to you to set that boundary on how you move forward with that if that's what you choose to do. Either way it goes, it's gonna work out the way it's supposed to, whether that person is meant to stay or not. Because you want to be able to love yourself wholeheartedly and not shrink yourself for anyone. So never think boundaries are selfish. And another thing that I thought that I no longer believe anymore is that marriage is the ultimate goal for a woman. And I'm going to speak from my perspective because I thought marriage was the goal. And coming up, that just was the thing. Like, you wanted to be married. You wanted the picket fence, the house, the husband, the kids, the dog. And that was the ultimate goal. And I felt like if I wasn't picked by someone, I wasn't like that. There was something on me. I wasn't good enough. Um, I wasn't worthy. Like the thief of that didn't just come at the air because we're taught that any way you look at that, you're taught that as you come up as a little girl, you want a husband. You're taught that in church. You know, society just always portrayed the perfect or the ideal family as a woman being married with a husband. And I just felt like if I didn't have one, I wouldn't be able to accomplish certain things for myself. I wouldn't be able to have the things that I wanted out of life. And not to mention, like, who wanted to be considered an old maid? That was always seen as a negative, derogatory thing. Like, you don't want to be old without ever getting married or ever being chosen. And I just felt like that's where my identity lied, was in being chosen by someone, being proposed to, being someone's wife. And I found out that's not the case for me. I don't believe in that anymore. And I know I said like back in the day, but that's still goes on today. That's still what a lot of women feel like today. Like they have to have a husband. They have to be chosen by uh by someone before their life is complete. And you see so many women today competing to show men like, pick me. I'm the one you want. I can do this. I bring this to the table. I can do this better than the other woman, you know. And it's just I hate that happens because they're selling themselves short, not just realizing what they are looking for is not outside of them, it's inside of them. And once you realize that, like I did, I realized it all just stemmed from fear, like fear of being alone, fear of thinking that I couldn't do things myself and that I had to have someone to have the things I wanted and to live the life that I wanted. Fear of not wanting everything to fall on me. A lot of things stem from fear, whether you know it or not. And I'm finding it out as well. But once I started focusing on myself and realizing where that fear stemmed from, it just changed my beliefs about everything. And I know I'm married now, but if anything were to happen, I don't feel like I have to be married again in order to feel complete. And it has nothing to do with the love I have for my husband, but it has everything to do with the love that I have for myself because I know that I'm worthy and I didn't feel that before. And I know that I'm capable of anything that I want to do or I want to have. You know, it's not for me to put that into anybody else but myself. So what was once a goal for me is now a choice for me because marriage was a goal, but now it's a choice. Is I get to choose what I want to do with that and not go by what religion or what society has taught me. Okay, another belief that I once had is that growth should feel comfortable. I didn't know growth felt uncomfortable. And because growth or anything that feels uncomfortable, we tend to reject that thing and we stop doing that thing because we don't like the way that feels. Therefore, that stopped, I'm gonna say delayed certain growth that I should have been experiencing. or I could have been experiencing. I'm not going to say should have because things happen the way they're supposed to happen anyway. So when something is uncomfortable, you tend to just stop because you don't like the feeling of that. You're going to stick with what's comfortable for you. But now that I understand growth feels uncomfortable, it's not going to always feel the way you want it to feel. But that's when your expansion really happens, is when you move forward in spite of that uncomfortableness. You'll really start to notice a change. It only takes a small step because certain things that I once viewed as unattainable or unreachable, I know it's possible for me now. Going back to what I just said, a lot of it stemmed around fear. And I realized that fear is, and I got this, what do you call it? Like I don't know what the word is you can use for it is, because you know what I'm talking about, like way you spell the word to mean something else. But I heard this and I felt like it was good. But fear is actually false evidence, false evidence appearing real. Right. Fear. False evidence appearing real. And when you think about it, I can't be afraid of something that I don't know the outcome of yet. I prefer not to be afraid of something that I don't know the outcome of yet because if I'm afraid of it, I've already determined how something is going to go and the outcome of something, which is usually that's not going to go well. It's not going to work out if I'm afraid of it, right? So I've put a label to that. But instead, why not do it and see how it goes before I predetermine how the outcome is going to go? It hasn't been proven to me that it's not going to work. It hasn't been proven yet that I won't succeed at it. So that's how I choose to face fear now and look at fear and not to let it stop me from doing the things that I want to do or achieving certain things, which leads me to the next one that I once believed that I don't anymore is we have to have everything figured out. And for so long, we've been taught that we need to have everything all figured out just through school, grade school, high school, junior high school. Like we've just been taught we need to have things figured out. You need to know what you want to be in life. You need to make a decision on this and on that. And that really frustrated me in school because I didn't know. And what I did think I know, it would change. You know, you go to school from 8 to 3 every day or 7 to 2:30. I don't know the times anymore. It's been so long ago, but we sit in the classroom that whole day and we're all taught the same thing. And it's more focus of us being taught as a collective and less of developing your own individuality, your own personality. That part of our brain wasn't stimulated or pushed for us to do. It's the best word I can find at this time to describe it. They weren't pushing us to do that. We were taught rules, we were taught schedules, we were taught who to respect. It was just all the same curriculum. And to me, when I look at it now, it's like we were just all grouped together and taught just like little machines, you know. That's one thing about today's generation and just being able to see things on social media. I love to see people who homeschool their kids, who who develop different ways of teaching their kids different ways for what works for them. And it seems to work out better to me. It gives them time to express themselves. It gives them time to get to know themselves, get to know their identity, their individuality, for them to be their authentic selves. And it seems to me these kids are excelling well, or if not better, than kids that are being taught in school. And just being given the time to be kids, to have recess and do things without having to feel the stress of school, but sometimes from your own peers who are at the same time getting to know themselves, but may make you feel bad about yourselves because they don't like what they see in themselves. But just back to what I was saying about having everything figured out. That's stressful to think that you have to have everything all figured out. But you don't have to have everything figured out. And in reality, that unknowing stimulates growth because you're going to explore certain things. You're going to move in different directions. And if you don't have everything figured out, your path is going to still evolve because you're doing certain things. Whether you have everything figured out or not, that doesn't mean that that's going to make your life complete. I mean, it's been proven that people who we thought had everything figured out, they weren't happy. They did some things to show us that they were unhappy. So with that being said, I know for me, I didn't have everything all figured out. Um, I still don't have everything all figured out. I don't think any of us ever at any time have everything all figured out. So don't let that be one of those things that you're downing yourself about. For me, my big thing was knowing I have a purpose and peace. That's what brings me happiness. It's not working hard. It's not a title. It's not from the things that I have, but it's just purpose and peace for me. I don't know what yours is, but that's what I finally realized. And when you're doing something you love, whatever that thing may be, that's going to bring you peace. It's going to bring you comfort, and it can even bring you stability if you believe it can. Just know that. It's just so many of us that think because of what we were taught that we have to work hard and we have to have it figured out before we can enjoy life, only to find when you do those things, some of us, you're missing out on life. But yeah, I feel like that was a good topic for today. And like I said, I know this has been a big season for growth for me and I speak on it a lot. So I just wanted to kind of talk about some things that I realized and that played a big part in my growth was just certain beliefs I let go of that I found out weren't my beliefs at all. But when you start to realize that something you once believed no longer makes sense and you decide to move forward and accept that change, like that's the biggest growth you can achieve. And that's a powerful understanding because that thing no longer has control over your life and the way you move in your life. You're deciding to think for yourself and make decisions for yourself based on your own beliefs and your own thoughts. So yeah, that's how I'm going to end this episode. But before I go, I have some reflection questions for you, like I always do, that I want you guys to write down and think about the answers that you come up with, right? So the first one that I have is, what do you believe now that you didn't believe before? And how has that belief changed? And the last one is, what belief about life has changed for you? What belief about life has changed for you? And that's going to do it for this episode of Everyday Real Talk, guys. I thank you guys for coming back again. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave something in the comments for me. Let me know how you felt about this episode. Let's engage. Love you guys and see you next time. Bye.